There is a strange comfort hidden in the mystery of suffering, a comfort not born of the absence of pain, but from the quiet knowledge that no injustice escapes the eyes of eternity. Perhaps you have been there, the place where your heart was exposed, your kindness mistaken for weakness, your love met with betrayal. You stood before them vulnerable, your words sincere, your intentions pure, and yet they chose cruelty. They sharpened their words into daggers. They disguised deception behind smiles, and with every act of malice they believed they had won. They laughed while you wept. They walked taller as you crumbled. They carried on as though your brokenness was nothing more than entertainment for their pride. How easy it is for them to forget that human hearts are not toys, that souls are not to be trampled beneath the arrogance of those who believe themselves untouchable. But let me remind you of a truth as ancient as the stars themselves. God watched. God saw. Every silent tear you shed behind closed doors was counted. Every moment of despair, whispered in the shadows, reached his ears. You see, while they celebrated your suffering, heaven was taking notes. While they thought they had escaped accountability, the laws of divine justice were quietly weaving their consequences. God, in his infinite patience, allowed them their moment. But never mistake patience for blindness. Never mistake silence for approval. The same God who formed the oceans, who commands the seasons, who measures the galaxies, this same God has seen how they hurt you. And now he will let life do what they never expected. Life, under his sovereign hand, has a way of repaying debts. You do not need to seek revenge. You do not need to stain your hands with the bitterness of retaliation. Life itself, like an unrelenting tide, will rise to meet them. The very hurt they cast upon you will circle back in ways they never imagined. For pain is a teacher, and God, in his divine wisdom, often lets life instruct those who thought they could harm others without consequence. It is not your battle to fight. Your healing belongs to God. Their reckoning belongs to him too. So stand tall, wipe your tears, know that you are not forgotten, and remember this: the same God who watched them hurt you will now let life hurt them in return, not because he delights in suffering, but because justice, in its purest form, is inevitable. Their moment was temporary, but the truth always finds its voice, and when it does, their pride will crumble beneath the weight of the very pain they designed for you. If you want to design the life you desire, prepare your heart. Restoration is coming for you, but for them, life has a lesson they can no longer outrun. God watched how they hurt you in silence. There is something deeply humbling, almost unsettling, about the idea that God observes everything, not just the grand gestures of worship or the mighty acts of faith, but the quiet, hidden moments when no one else seems to be watching. We often speak of God's watchful eyes in the context of protection, in the moments when blessings overflow or miracles unfold, but rarely do we pause to acknowledge that those same eyes were upon you when they hurt you. You see, when they belittled you, God watched. When they twisted their words to turn others against you, God listened. When they smiled to your face and plotted behind your back, God observed every deceitful seed they planted. And when they thought they had succeeded, when they believed your spirit was crushed beyond repair, God was present, watching in perfect stillness. There is something profound about divine patience. God does not always intervene immediately. Sometimes he allows the storm to rage. Sometimes he permits the betrayal to unfold. not because he is powerless, but because he is purposeful. The pain you endured, the silent nights of weeping, the days when your chest felt hollow from despair, he saw it all. But here's the thing, they believed they were clever. They believed they could manipulate, humiliate, and wound you without consequence, as if the absence of immediate justice meant there would never be any justice at all. But they underestimated the watchfulness of God. They forgot that the one who numbers the stars is the same one who counts every tear that falls from your eyes. Have you ever wondered why God sometimes remains quiet when we are hurting? Why he doesn't immediately stop those who scheme against us? It is because he is gathering evidence. His silence is not abandonment, it is observation. His delay is not denial, it is preparation. And in his divine timing, everything hidden will be exposed, and those who wounded you will face the reflection of their own cruelty. They thought your pain was private. They thought no one saw the damage they caused. But the Creator of heaven and earth saw every detail. He saw the mask they wore in public and the sharpness they wielded in private. He saw how they weaponized your kindness, twisted your words, and bruised your heart with their actions. But here's where their arrogance becomes their downfall. They forgot that God keeps record of every injustice, and he does not let suffering go unanswered. When you cried, he listened. When your heart broke, he stood beside you. When your name was dragged through the dirt, he remained near, holding the pieces of your shattered spirit together. God's justice may be slow to our understanding, but it is perfect in its timing. He watches not only to comfort, but to act. And now, as the scales of life begin to balance, those same eyes that watched your suffering are turning toward them. The tables are shifting, not by your hand, but by his. Let them believe they've won for a season, because seasons change. And the God who watched them hurt you is preparing the consequences they never considered. God will let life hurt them in return. There is a universal truth stitched into the very fabric of existence. What we sow, we eventually reap. You can plant seeds of kindness and harvest joy. You can sow compassion and receive peace. But when people sow hurt, betrayal, and malice, life itself, under the sovereign hand of God, ensures that those seeds do not remain buried forever. They grow, they return, and often they return in forms far greater than anticipated. The ones who hurt you believed they were untouchable. They thought they could dismantle your peace, sabotage your reputation, or shatter your trust without facing any repercussions. But life has an unrelenting memory. It does not forget what is planted. And the one who governs life, the author of creation, ensures that no act, good or evil, goes without response. God, in his infinite wisdom, does not always strike with lightning or rain down immediate judgment. Instead, he lets life become the very teacher they never expected. He lets the same world they tried to control turn against them, piece by piece, moment by moment. Suddenly the peace they boasted of begins to unravel. The opportunities they chased slip through their fingers. The relationships they prized begin to fracture, and they wonder why their foundation feels so unstable. But you, standing on the outside, will recognize it. You'll see the slow unraveling and know. It is not random, it is not coincidence, it is justice. Divine justice disguised as ordinary life. God is letting life itself become the mirror that reflects their choices. The very lies they told about you will circle back as distrust in their own relationships. The manipulation they used against you will revisit them through others. The pride they flaunted will become their stumbling block. And the isolation they tried to cast you into will become their own invisible prison. But here's the beauty of God's design. You don't have to orchestrate this. You don't have to soil your hands with revenge. You don't need to lower yourself to their level. God lets life handle it. And life is a precise, unforgiving teacher when guided by divine justice. It is painful to wait, it is tempting to retaliate, but restraint is your victory. Because while they underestimated you, they also underestimated life. They forgot that the world they live in operates under God's authority. The seasons change by His command. The tides rise and fall by His decree, and the harvest always matches the seed. So stand back, watch with quiet strength, for the same life they tried to use against you will now turn upon them, not by your doing, but by God's. Because life, when governed by the hands of heaven, never allows injustice to thrive unchallenged. They hurt you, but life, under God's direction, is coming to hurt them in return. They thought their actions were forgotten, but heaven keeps record. One of the greatest lies people tell themselves is that if they hurt you quietly enough, if they scheme in the shadows, whisper their betrayals behind closed doors, or disguise their malice with false smiles, then somehow those actions will fade into the background of life, unnoticed, unchallenged, and unpunished. They deceive themselves into thinking that because justice does not knock immediately, justice will never arrive. But they have forgotten something far greater than earthly consequence. Heaven keeps record. You see, the Creator of the universe is not bound by time, not rushed by impatience, and certainly not blind to hidden cruelty. In fact, the quietest injustices, the betrayals done behind your back, the wounds inflicted on your spirit when no one else saw, those are the very moments heaven writes down with unshakable accuracy. They may have walked away from you smirking, confident that their actions disappeared into the wind, but every lie they told, every manipulation they weaved, every piece of your trust they shattered, has been noted in a divine account that cannot be erased by charm, deception, or arrogance. The world often glorifies outward appearances. They clap for those who hide their wickedness behind confidence. They follow those who speak sweetly but act with venom. And those who hurt you likely believed they were clever enough to deceive not only people, but God Himself. But what a tragic underestimation that is. Scripture reminds us again and again that nothing is hidden from God's sight. The darkness does not conceal deeds from Him. The silence of your pain is not silence to His ears. Heaven has always been present, watching, recording, and preparing for the appointed time when all things done in secret will be revealed and repaid. And so they live on, oblivious to the gathering storm. They think their betrayal was buried with your broken heart. They believe their words dissolved after they destroyed your peace. But every moment of your suffering has been marked. Your tears have been stored like precious jewels, and their cruelty, whether seen by others or hidden from the world, has been logged with divine precision. They cannot outrun what is written. Heaven does not forget, and time does not erase the ink of consequence. You may feel forgotten, but the one who formed you in the womb has never lost sight of your pain. He holds the record, and in His perfect justice, that record will not collect dust. It will demand balance. When life begins to unravel for them, when relationships fracture, opportunities collapse, and peace escapes their grasp, it will not be random. It will not be coincidence. It will be the record of their actions returning to them, multiplied by the hand of divine justice. For every hidden betrayal, life will echo back a visible consequence. So let them believe in their false victory. Their confidence rests on ignorance. But your peace? Your peace is rooted in the knowledge that God has kept account, and heaven always settles its books. God's justice may wait, but it never fails. There is a peculiar discomfort in waiting. When you've been hurt, betrayed, lied about, or broken by those you trusted, the immediate cry of the heart is for justice. Now, you want to see the scales balanced, the wrongs made right, the liars exposed, the betrayers silenced. But often God delays. His justice waits. And in the waiting, the enemy whispers doubts into your mind. Maybe they've escaped. Maybe God didn't see. Maybe their actions have no consequence. But those whispers are lies, designed to weaken your hope. The truth is this: God's justice may wait, but it never fails. His timing is not aligned with human impatience. It is woven with eternal wisdom that sees the full picture, the beginning, the end, and the intricate threads in between. When those who hurt you thrive, when their lives appear untouched by consequence, it is easy to question divine justice. But understand, this delay is not weakness. It is mercy extended, chances given, lessons offered. God is patient, yes, but his patience is not endless when it comes to protecting the innocent. The ones who wounded you live in temporary illusion. They dance upon your pain, convinced their actions were clever enough to avoid retribution. But justice delayed is not justice denied. God allows their pride to inflate, their false security to grow, because when his hand moves, it moves with precision that leaves no space for escape. And when that moment comes, it comes without warning. The same confidence they built upon your suffering becomes the very platform from which they fall. The very peace they stole from you begins to unravel their own. The life they used to mock your pain turns upon them, not by coincidence, but by divine design. God's justice may seem silent, but it never sleeps. He has not forgotten the weight of your hurt. He has not ignored the betrayal that fractured your soul. He has simply been preparing. For when God acts, he not only restores the broken, but he humbles the arrogant. He not only heals the wounded, but he lets life echo back the pain they inflicted. You must resist the temptation to intervene, to orchestrate your own revenge. Their downfall is not your burden to carry. It belongs to God, and he never mishandles his timing. Trust that their false sense of security is temporary. Their success, their smiles, their pride, it all rests on borrowed time. And when that time expires, the justice of heaven will be undeniable. The same God who waited will not fail. The pain they gave you will become their teacher. The hurt they celebrated will become their regret. And you will rise, not by your strength alone, but by the unfailing justice of the one who promised to repay every wrong in his perfect time. Life will return their betrayal in ways they never expected. There is a certain arrogance that often accompanies betrayal. Those who betray you believe they are smarter, stronger, more untouchable than you. They convince themselves that their actions will dissolve into the shadows, that your pain will fade away unnoticed, and that they can continue climbing their fragile towers of pride without ever having to face the consequences. But life, under God's command, has a remarkable way of returning betrayal in forms that none of them expect. You see, betrayal never dies quietly. It hides for a time, buried beneath temporary success, masked behind fake smiles, concealed beneath their carefully crafted reputations. But betrayal, like a seed, always grows, and it does not grow into blessing. It grows into thorns. It grows into the very struggles they never saw coming. Life, in its relentless rhythm, ensures that no act of cruelty goes unanswered, and those who thought they hurt you without price Life has a different plan for them. What makes divine justice so poetic is that it often arrives through the ordinary. Their relationships will fracture, not by accident, but because the deceit they planted in your life now grows in theirs. Their peace will dissolve, not randomly, but because the pain they sowed in your heart now echoes through their own. The stability they flaunted will collapse under the weight of their choices, and the people they trusted will mirror the same betrayal they inflicted upon you. And the most haunting part, it won't look dramatic. It won't always be some grand downfall displayed for the world to see. No, life is more subtle, more precise. It allows them to live with quiet regret, with invisible wounds that others cannot detect, but they feel every single day. Their joy will be hollow. Their successes will feel meaningless. Their relationships will feel shallow and temporary, and they will wake each morning with an unshakable restlessness, the kind that no money, no applause, no achievements can silence. They will wonder why peace escapes them. They will question why their plans crumble, why their connections fail, why their hearts feel so heavy. And slowly it will dawn on them. Life has returned what they sent out. The betrayal they cast upon you has circled back, multiplied, reimagined, impossible to outrun. And here you stand, watching from a distance, untouched by revenge, free from bitterness, and yet vindicated by the natural law that governs this world, the law of sowing and reaping. You need not interfere, you need not explain. Life is already orchestrating their downfall in ways they never saw coming. They betrayed you for their gain, but life is returning that betrayal with consequences they never anticipated. And the most powerful justice? It comes when you remain silent and let life, under God's hand, finish the story they thought they controlled. Their false peace will crumble, the same way they tried to break yours. There is no foundation more fragile than false peace. The kind of peace people parade in front of the world after they've hurt others, betrayed trust, and walked away as though their conscience remained spotless. It's easy to wear the mask of happiness, to post the highlight reels, to smile in public when deep down the soul knows what it's done. But here's the truth. False peace never lasts. It crumbles under the weight of hidden guilt, divine justice, and the inevitable consequences life delivers. Those who hurt you likely carried on as though nothing happened. They boasted of their victories, laughed among their friends, built their reputations upon the ruins of your pain. But you must understand, every brick they laid upon that false foundation is cracking, slowly, steadily, inevitably. The peace they stole from you, life is about to let them taste the same instability. The calm they shattered in your heart, it will become the very storm that follows them, day after day. And it doesn't always happen in explosive, dramatic fashion. No, life has a far more haunting method of delivering consequences. It starts quietly, with restlessness, with sleepless nights, with tension they can't explain, with relationships that slowly fracture, with opportunities that seem to slip through their fingers. At first they'll deny it. They'll convince themselves they're just stressed, unlucky, facing temporary struggles. But as time passes, the cracks deepen. Their smiles become forced. Their confidence falters. The peace they pretended to possess reveals itself for what it always was, a thin layer of illusion stretched over deep-rooted insecurity and guilt. And here you are, standing in the aftermath of your own hurt, but healing. Slowly, steadily, your heart regains strength. Your peace, broken by their actions, begins to rebuild. Not by your might, but by the quiet comfort of God's justice at work. Meanwhile, their world feels different now. The friendships they trusted become shallow. The opportunities they once manipulated turn against them. The peace they claim to have slips away, replaced by a gnawing discomfort they can't name, but you recognize it. You recognize it because they designed that same discomfort for you. This is how divine justice unfolds. God allows life to mirror their actions, to reflect their choices, to let the same brokenness they forced upon you return into their own atmosphere. Their false peace will crumble, not because you wished it, but because life cannot sustain what was built on betrayal. Why should I merely speak? Why should I bam lip sync when life is forced to be true? And when it happens, they will remember. They will remember the hurt they designed for you. They will remember the games they played, the words they twisted, the promises they broke. And they will understand peace built upon the suffering of others is temporary. God saw everything. Life never forgets. Their false peace was never real, and now it is crumbling. One painful, undeniable peace at a time. The pain they gave you will become their greatest lesson. There is no teacher more relentless than pain. It humbles the proud, it softens the arrogant, and it reveals the truth to those who once believed they were invincible. Those who hurt you, those who cast pain into your life as if it were nothing more than a passing inconvenience, they thought they would walk away untouched. They believed your suffering was theirs to create without consequence. But what they failed to understand is that pain is never one-sided in the eyes of God. The pain they gave you, the sleepless nights, the broken trust, the silent tears, those wounds were not wasted. God saw every moment, measured every ache, and though He allowed the process to unfold, He also prepared a mirror for them, a mirror held by life itself, reflecting the very suffering they designed for you. And now, life is teaching them in ways they never imagined. Their greatest lesson is arriving, not through words of wisdom, but through the very pain they once thought they could inflict without consequence. Their peace is fractured, their confidence shaken, their relationships strained, and beneath it all lies a familiar ache, the same ache they crafted for you. Isn't it remarkable how life has a way of circling back? How the storms they sent your way now cloud their own horizons? How the darkness they spoke over you now shadows their own steps? But this is not punishment for the sake of punishment. No, God's justice is far more purposeful. It is restoration. It is realignment. It is a divine interruption designed to humble the heart and reveal the cost of the pain they are now facing. Will teach them what their pride refused to hear. They will learn that betrayal is a cycle, that suffering does not vanish into the wind, that hurting a pure heart carries a weight no worldly success can lighten. Every sleepless night you endured, they will endure their own. Every tear you cried, they will taste regret. And the false security they boasted of? It will dissolve beneath the heavy footsteps of their own choices returning to them. This is how God works. He turns the tables, not with vengeance fueled by rage, but with the quiet, undeniable justice of cause and effect. The pain they gave you becomes the tool through which they are reshaped, humbled, stripped of their illusions. They thought they could orchestrate your suffering and walk away whole, but life under God's authority holds a far different script. And you don't need to interfere. You don't need to chase validation or orchestrate their downfall. You stand in quiet strength, knowing the God who saw your tears is the same God now letting life teach them. Your lesson was endurance, theirs is accountability. And the pain they once celebrated has become the very storm that now follows them home. Their greatest lesson isn't in losing material things. It isn't in temporary struggles. It is in the ache of regret. the whisper of lost peace. The realization that hurting you was never without cost. And that, my friend, is the most profound justice of all. From the very beginning, they thought they were in control. They believed their actions were hidden, their betrayals unnoticed, their cruelty without consequence. But they underestimated two unshakable forces: the all-seeing eyes of God and the quiet, inevitable justice of life. God watched as they hurt you. He counted every tear, observed every betrayal, and though he delayed, his silence was not forgetfulness, it was preparation. The same God who allowed your suffering now holds the scales, ensuring that every hidden action finds its reflection, that every seed sown in pain returns multiplied. And life has become the instrument of that justice. It is unraveling their false peace. It is returning their betrayal. It is turning their pride into regret, their temporary victories into haunting reminders that no harm goes unanswered in the eyes of heaven. The pain they gave you was not the end. It was the beginning of their lesson. A lesson wrapped in the very consequences they never saw coming. A lesson designed to humble them, to expose their false foundations, to remind them that hurting the pure-hearted is never without cost. And you have been seen, you have been heard, you have been carried by the one who wastes nothing, not your suffering, not your silence, not your resilience. You need not fight their battles or chase their downfall. God is orchestrating the return. Life is delivering the consequences. And their greatest downfall will be realizing the pain they gave you has become their own greatest storm. So stand tall, heal in peace, and watch how the same God who watched them hurt you now lets life, in his perfect timing, hurt them in return. Justice is not always loud, but it is always sure, and their moment is arriving.